Hi, in this video we will talk about MySQL group replication. What is group replication and why do we need it? Group replication provides high availability for your MySQL data. So how does it provide a high availability? So imagine this is your MySQL server and you have your data here. So if this database goes down or if this server goes down, you either have to reconnect to the standby server and keep the show running. But in the case of group replication, instead of one server, you will have a group of servers, each with its own set of data. Each of the server will have the same identical data. So imagine this is server 1 and this is server 2 and this is server 3. Each one of them will have its own data and the data is identical here. So if you have your employee table here, the same employee table's data is available here as well, and it is the same available, and the same table is available in the third server as well. So you have a group of servers having the same set of data. The data is not shared like in Oracle RAC. Each of the server has its own set of data. So if something goes wrong with any of the server, the data is still accessible from the others. So that's how MySQL group replication provides high availability for your MySQL data. Now the number of servers in the group can be a minimum of 3 and the maximum of 9, and it is recommended to have an odd number just to have the majority in the split brain scenarios. Now these groups can be operated in single primary mode or in multi-primary mode. So what does that mean? So you have your server 1 here, server 2 here, server 3 here, and its data, copy of the data on the server 2 and the copy of the data on the server 3. In the single primary mode, the group will have one server performing as a read and writer. So your DMLs will go through one of them. You can perform a read as well as a write from this server, which is the primary, and the others act as read-only servers. So one of them will act as the primary and the other servers will act as the read-only servers. And in the case of multi-primary mode, as the name itself suggests, you can perform read and write on all of them. You can perform read and write on all of them. So this is the multi-primary mode. So in either modes, either in single primary mode or in multi-primary mode, the data should remain consistent in all the servers. So somebody has to take care of that responsibility to ensure that the data is consistent, and that is the group replication plugin. So on top of the MySQL server, you install the group replication plugin on each of the members in the group. So you need to have group replication plugin. So it is a library. It sits on top of your MySQL server software. So that helps in ensuring the data is consistent. So how does it perform? When you perform a DML on any of the nodes, the group replication plugin takes it and passes it on to all the members. So it passes it on to all the members. When you perform a change or a DML on one node, the group replication plugin takes it and passes on the change to all the members. So there are two responsibilities here. It must pass on the change or the DML to all the members, and it should even does this in a orderly fashion. So what do I mean by that, in an orderly fashion? So imagine at time t1 you inserted a record Praveen, and at time t2 you updated it as Praveen Kumar, and at time t3 you updated as Praveen Kumar DBA. So the changes should be passed on to the other nodes in the same manner, in the same order. It should be passed on to the other servers in the same order. So what happens if it crisscrosses, or if the order is not followed? So on the other server it could become like Praveen, and the third change might have been applied in second, Praveen Kumar DBA, and after that if the second change gets applied, then it would become Praveen Kumar. So the data is inconsistent. On one server you will see it as Praveen Kumar DBA, and the other server you could see it as Praveen Kumar. So that is why the changes should be applied in an orderly fashion, and that is the responsibility of the group replication. So now we have seen two responsibilities. It should pass on the changes to all members, and it should ensure these changes are applied in an orderly way. So we have seen two responsibilities of the group replication plugin. So in the case of group replication, when we perform a transaction and commit is not a unilateral decision, meaning one server can't confirm the commit. It needs consensus from the others. So this is our three group you perform a DML and you perform commit. The server alone can't respond that the commit is completed. It prepares a write set with the details of the primary key of the record that we are modifying, and other details, primary key and other details, and then it sends it to the all other members. So majority of the servers should acknowledge or should provide consensus to this commit. Only then the data is committed. So that is one thing about the DMLs. In the case of group replication, DML is not a unilateral decision. A majority of the members should provide consensus, and for that the server prepares the write set and it passes on to the other members. The write set contains the primary key of the record that we are modifying and other data. So this is fine in the case of a single primary mode, but in the case of multi-primary mode, we can perform DML on every server. So in that case there could be conflicts, meaning you can try to update a value b is equal to 1 here, and for the same record you can try to update b is equal to 2 here, and there is a chance that both of them can hit the MySQL database at the same time. In that case, the group replication even has the responsibility to resolve this conflict now. So you are updating a record's value b is equal to 1 here, and the same record you are trying to update as b is equal to 2 here. But you can't have inconsistency of the data in the group. The data must be consistent across the group. So in that case, group replication now has one more responsibility to resolve the conflict. So for that, in the memory, it makes use of the record's primary key value. Now this gets the primary key value for b, and it passes on the write set details to all the others. The others also, when we are trying to update b is equal to 2 from here, it prepares the write set in the memory, and that contains the primary key value here. So now it understands that we are trying to modify the same record from two servers at the same time. In this case, whichever change is made first, that wins, and the other is dropped off, and the other change is dropped off. So this is the first commit wins rule. So whatever change the group replication considers is done first is honored, and the other transaction will be dropped off. So apart from the conflict resolution, we are even certifying which transaction must go through and which transaction should be dropped off in the case of conflict resolution. So the group replication does the certification of the changes. So that is one more responsibility that group replication does. For each change, it prepares the write set, and in the write set, it puts the primary key value of the record that we are modifying and some other data. And once the write set is sent to all other servers, it compares in its memory if it is doing any other change related to the same PK record. If it is there, it verifies, the group replication verifies which transaction is externalized or is done first, and that will be honored, and the other will be dropped off. So we have seen like two more responsibilities: conflict resolution and certification as well by the group replication. So irrespective of the mode the group is in, whether it is in single primary mode or it is in multi-primary mode, commit is not a unilateral decision. It must be having the group's consensus. Okay. Moving on. So now we know that the cluster can operate in one of the two modes, or the group can operate in one of the two modes, single primary or the multi-primary. So in a multi-primary, if any of the member goes down, the database is still accessible from the others. If in a 3-node group, if one of the member goes down, the database is still accessible from the others. You can perform a DML from any of the server. In the case of multi-primary mode, right? You can perform DML from any of the server. So the show does not stop here. Your database is still accessible. In the single primary mode, we know that DMLs can be done only from one server, and the others are readers only. If one of the reader goes down, it does not impact. The database still continues because it has majority. As long as the group has majority, it can continue. So losing one member or one server does not impact, and it runs. But what if the primary goes down? What if the primary goes down? Then the group reconfigures itself and makes one of these two readers as a writer. It makes one of these two as the primary. If the primary itself goes down, the group reconfigures and it elects one of those two, the remaining two servers, as the primary, and show still continues. There is very minimal or no downtime, depending on the transactions that were done before this thing goes down. So how does it choose which of these two readers? We have two readers. Which of these two should be chosen as the primary? For that, there is an algorithm. It basically tries to find the lowest MySQL version of these two. Whichever is having the lowest version, that would be considered as the primary. If both of them are having this same MySQL version, then it will check for the patch set. Whichever is having the lowest patch set, that would be considered for the primary. If both of them have the same, first is the MySQL version and the second is the patch version, And if both of them are same, both the servers are having the same MySQL version and the same patch level, including the patch level, then it will consider one more variable, group replication member weight. And then it considers a variable group replication member weight. Whichever is having the highest, that would be considered for the primary. So imagine these three servers. This is having a good configuration, and this the CPU or the memory for this is less when compared to this. Then obviously you want this to be selected as the primary once this thing goes down. In that case, you will set a higher group replication member weight for this server, so that this gets chosen automatically. Imagine even the group replication member weight is same for both the servers. It is 50 for this and it's 50 for this. Then it got a tie. In that situation, it goes and checks for one more thing additionally. It checks for the server UUID. Each server in the group will have a unique server UUID. While we are trying to configure the group replication and bring it under a group, you need to set a server UUID, and that's unique for each server. So it checks for those two things, and whichever server is having the lowest server UUID, that will be chosen to become the primary. So this way, if the primary goes down, it makes use of this algorithm and chooses the existing server as the primary. Okay, there are certain requirements for group replication. The group replication is meant only for InnoDB tables. You can only have InnoDB tables in your database, and each table must have a primary key. So these are the two mandatory requirements for the group replication. Okay. So each group has a name. The group itself has a name, and it takes the form of UUID. So in the group changes whenever a member joins the group. A new member can join the group, or an existing member can leave the group. An existing member can leave the group. When an existing member leaves the group, it could be either voluntarily or involuntarily. Voluntarily, when you are doing some maintenance and you are trying to bring down a member, then this member informs the group, and the reconfiguration of the group happens automatically in the case of voluntarily. And the member could even go down for involuntarily because of network issues, or the server got crashed, or the MySQL instance got crashed. For different reasons, the member could become unavailable. And in that cases, group needs to be informed. Why? Because every DML needs the consensus. Every DML that we do in the group, it needs the consensus, or the majority need to acknowledge it, acknowledges the commit, or it's okay with the commit. So we don't want any member which is not fully participating, or which is not communicating with the other members in the group. We don't want to have a member like that. But if unknown reasons like server crash or network crash, or for other reasons, we need to be in a situation that we identify that thing proactively. And for that, the group has got one more mechanism, failure detection mechanism. Each member constantly checks with other members. So each member checks constantly with other members. So if a member is not responding for 5 seconds, say this member is not responding to it for 5 seconds, then this member marks it as a suspects that this thing is failed. And after 10 seconds, it proposes this idea to all the other members of the group, saying that this member is not reachable. Now, this idea needs to get consensus, or the majority's acknowledgement from the group. So both of them should be coming to a conclusion that this thing is not reachable in the case of 3-node or 3-member group, right? So once this idea gets acknowledgement from the majority, it starts a timer. This thing starts a timer, and that's a configurable timer. You can specify that timer's value. Once that timer is reached, and if this is not responding, it is expelled from the group. It's expelled. So this is the failure detection mechanism by the group replication. Why we need it? Because for every change, for every DML that we do in the group, it needs a consensus or the majority's acknowledgement. So we don't want any member which is not participating in the group to be part of the group. And for that, we need to see that if anything is not participating or is not responding, we need to proactively identify that and keep it away from the group. So that is about the failure detection mechanism of the group replication. So there is a concept of view. So view is like, what are all the members, online members of a group? You currently have 3 members, you might get one more member added, then the view changes. And in the same way, you have 3 members and one of the member is expelled from the group, then also the view changes, because now the group has got 2 members. The group needs consensus for the current view, or what are the online members in the group. For that also it needs consensus from the group. So not only for DMLs or for the commits, even for what are the online members of the group, even for that it needs consensus from the group. Okay, let's try to see some practical aspect of a group replication. We have a group with 3 members. MySQL 1, MySQL 2, MySQL 3 are the 3 members of the group. And their IP addresses are 192.168.1.210, 1.220, .230. We can connect to them. Initially it is in multi-primary mode. Let's try to do few tasks there. So these are my 3 servers: MySQL 1, MySQL 2 and MySQL 3. So we can get the details of the group using this view. So if you see here, these are the member IDs for each one of them, and the IP address for them is 192.168, 1.210, 220 and 230. Currently all the members are online mode and they are all in primary A role, so we can perform DML on each one of them. So I have a test database. So with this group replication, if you create a database, it gets replicated. If you create a table, it gets replicated. So okay, I have a table here, conflict update. So currently it is not having any records. Okay, it is not having any records. Let's try to insert one record from each of the MySQL member. Let's see its content. Okay, we inserted one record from each member. Okay, so in multi-primary mode, you can perform the DML from each one of them. So you can perform the DML from each one of them in multi-primary mode. That's what we did. So also there is a chance of having a conflict. Let's induce a conflict. We'll try to update a row at the same time from two nodes and see what happens. For that I also need to insert one more record. So I am inserting this record. My script makes use of this record, so ID1. So I have just inserted that. So we get the consistent data now. So I have a shell script. Node1 n1 update.sh. So it just connects to the local instance as a root user, and then it is updating this a conflict update. Set value is equal to node1 winner, where id is equal to 1, and we're just sleeping for 5 seconds and then committing. At the same time I have a different script in MySQL too. So we are doing the same thing here, except the statement is setting node 2 winner from the node 2 or the member 2. So we are just using a sleep to see that we run into conflict. Let's try to schedule them using the cron. Okay, so I have scheduled this thing to run from two different nodes at the same time. Now the time is 0025, and I scheduled it for 26 from node 2 and from node 1 as well, or member 1 as well. You're basically using a conflict. So once the scripts run and they try to modify the same record from both the sides, the write set is prepared from each one of them and it is sent to all the members of the group. So it verifies the write set based on the PK or the primary key value in the memory, and it finds a conflict and it has to resolve the conflict. And during the conflict resolution, it follows the commit first wins rule. Whoever committed and whosoever record got propagated by the group replication first, that stays. So it follows that rule. So let's see that. It might have completed by now. Okay, it says node 2 is the winner. Okay, node 2 is the winner, and from node 3 also. So we basically induced a conflict in the multi-primary mode to see how the group replication works and how it ensures the data is consistent. Basically one of them went through and the other got dropped off by the group replication. So we got this error, and change that it tried to perform from this node got dropped off. This was the change that it tried to perform. Node 1 winner for id is equal to 1. It got dropped off by the group replication, and all the members of the group show the same data, node 2 for id 1. So that's a little bit about the group replication in the multi-primary mode. This table helps us to understand what is the member state and what is the member role. So we can see they are all online and they are all in the primary mode. Our interest is to see one variable. Okay, so this is the variable super read only. If it is on, we cannot perform any DMLs from that member. So currently it is off. As this is in multi-primary mode, it will be off on all the members. We can check that this is from MySQL 2 and this is from MySQL 1. So in the multi-primary mode, super read only will be off on all the group members. Also, we can see the version of each member here, 8.4.6, and on top of this MySQL 8.4.6 we have the group replication plugin installed. We can see that. So the group replication plugin installed on each one of them. This is from MySQL 1, MySQL 2. And this group replication plugin makes use of the group communication protocol, and for any member to join the group communication protocol must match or its version must match with the existing members. So let's see the group communication protocol that is being used for communicating between the members of the group. This is from MySQL 2, MySQL 3, 8.0.27. So for any member to join the group, this communication protocol should match. Only then it can join the group, because this is the thing that helps the group replication to communicate between the members of the group. Now let's try to convert this group into single primary mode, and for that we have a function. We can invoke that function. Before that, I wanted to share some more details, like how can we ensure that all the transactions are available on all the members. For that we can make use of the GTID executed, and so if we see the GTID executed, this is the command we saw previously. Each group will have its name, and group name is in the form of UUID. So for the GTID executed, it has two parts. One is the group's UUID, and the other one is till what transaction this member has got all the data. So if we execute the same thing from all other nodes, so this is the same. Group ID remains the same across the group, and this node also got the transactions till 03, and that is the same case with member 2 as well. Okay, we'll have two parts. One is the group's UUID followed by till what GTID we have got the transactions committed on this member. So moving on, we will try to invoke the function which converts the group from multi-primary to single primary. So this is a group command, meaning you can execute that command from any one member of the group, and it takes care of the entire group. So we are saying select a group replication, switch to single primary mode. So when we invoke this function, currently the group is in multi-primary mode. It converts that into single primary mode. So now let's run this thing. Now you see here it says MySQL 1 or this host is in primary, and the other two are in secondary or read only. And also we wanted to see one variable which we have checked previously. Now if you see, this is on MySQL 3. MySQL 3 is on 230 and it is on secondary role. So this variable turned into on, super read only is on. Now we cannot perform DML from this node. It should be the same case with 220 secondary, which is in MySQL 2. So let's check MySQL 2 super read only. Sorry. So super read only is on for MySQL 2 also. And let's check on MySQL 1. It should be off because this is where we perform DMLs as this is single primary mode. Online and the other two are secondary from MySQL 2. Okay, now let's try to insert some records and see that. Okay, so we'll try to insert this from node 1 or member 1. Remember this is an primary, so we can perform DML here. The other two are read only. We'll try to see this thing. The MySQL server is running with this super read only option, so it cannot execute this statement. This thing we have executed in MySQL 2, and MySQL 2 is in secondary. So if this thing is on, super read only is on, we cannot perform DML. Let's try to check the node 3 also. It's the same thing, and the MySQL server is running with the super read only option, so it cannot execute this statement. But let's just check the content of this table because we inserted one record. Okay, 20 from DML node 1 that went through. Let's check the content from, okay, let's check the content again from MySQL 1. Okay, now let's do one more exercise where we try to see that MySQL 1, which is in primary mode, becomes unavailable, and the group reconfigures itself and selects a new primary. And for that I will try to induce a failure just by killing this MySQLD. Okay, let's go to this thing and see the members now. See this thing, it become unreachable. Now it has reconfigured and it has turned this member which is MySQL 3 to primary. We know that from the theory that as long as the group has majority members available, the group or the database is available and no manual intervention is required, because the group reconfigures itself and elects a new member as primary, which it has done now. And as of now, no DB intervention is required. Now we can perform, DML from MySQL 2. Okay, my bad. MySQL 2 is 220. It is still a secondary. MySQL 3, which is 230, is MySQL 3. That is the primary. So let me run this insert statement in that primary, which is MySQL 3. Okay, it went through. So when the primary goes down, the group reconfigures itself and elects an existing member as the primary. Of course, we inserted from member 3. It does not matter. Okay, we have one failed member, which is MySQL 1. We kill the MySQL on it, but the MySQL respawned. It respawned. but the group replication has not started on this member. It has not started on this member, that's why you still see the stale data on it. So we have one variable So group replication start on boot, as it is self-explanatory. Whether you want to start the group replication as soon as the MySQL is started, I have intentionally set that to off. So that's why the group replication is not on this member. Let's start it. If this thing or if this variable is on, we don't need to run this thing, as and when the MySQL comes up, automatically the group replication also starts. Okay, let me check the status. Okay, it is saying it is recovering, because we have done one DML while it was down. Okay, once it recovered, the status turned into online for MySQL 1 or 192.168.1.210. The status turned into online, and this was the data before we turned on the group replication. And once it recovered, the data is this way. And so the changes that were done while the member was down during the phase of the recovery, it got those changes from the existing members and applied, and now it is in online mode. Okay, that concludes this video. As group replication is a huge concept, it is not possible to cover all of the concepts in one video. I am sure this video would have created many questions on the group replication. I will try to cover other aspects of the group replication as my time permits. And that completes this video. Thank you for watching.